Hey guys, we moved. Hey, what's up guys? My name is Felipe, and today I'm going to be taking you guys through the project for my Try remix by Midas. And I had so much fun making it, and I'm like, I really want to show you guys what I did to make this remix, because personally I think it's one of the best tracks I've worked on so far. There's more to come, so stay tuned for that. But before we get started, I just wanted to say that this video is coming out first on Patreon, and then it goes to YouTube. Now, if you guys want to watch any other videos before it get pushed out to YouTube, or just any exclusive content really, that's going to be over my Patreon. You can find the link in the description down below, or up here in this annotation bar thingy up here. Now, let's go get started. All right, so here we are in the project for my Try remix. I'm just gonna go here in order real quick. So, vocals and piano and everything, just going down the line. So these are the original vocals from the track. Now, all I'm really doing is just doing a bit of de-essing here. Then, just some utility, sidechain later on, and so it's not on right now. And this is pretty much just my version of a dry wet for free clip, since the plugin itself doesn't have a dry wet. Now, this is an awesome free plugin. It pretty much is just a clipper, right? So it does either soft clipping, hard clipping, or anything in between. So you can see the red is the original waveform for the track, and white, which you can barely see, is the new dynamic range. So it's pretty much squashed. And I kind of just use that later on. Now, over here, I have one of the parts from the vocal chop. Now, this is originally from the track. I think it's like the chorus or something. So I just added a little Ultra Boy, brought the pitch down by 12, and brought the format down by 12. Because that's being paired with this, which is the vocal chop I have going on. So it just kind of goes like this. Now for these chops, all it really is, most of this is being, the sound itself is by the Elenium vocal chop chain. This is pretty much a chain that I replicated from Nick's live stream on Twitch. So all it's doing is a little Ultra Boy. I brought it up by a whole octave, and it brought the format down by about 5. Then EQ, just kind of remove some of those high, harsh frequencies. Then I'm just making this a bit more mid-focused, so it's not super wide, it's just more narrow. Some reverb, then echo with the compressor afterwards, so it kind of glues the vocals, the reverb, and the echo all together with a really extreme compressor, and then obviously free clip. So you can see that's pretty much what the new signal is. Then just sidechain. So I have a ghost and a snare ghost. Ghost is what I'm using to trigger sidechain specifically for my kicks, and then snare ghost, same thing, but for my snares in the drop. Then pretty much just some EQ and filters for later on in the track. So as for the drop vocals, same processing. Just a bit louder, so it sounds more distorted when it's being pushed through free clip. And then the ad-libs here. So I have these ad-libs from the original track here. I honestly can't remember where I was supposed to put them. They kind of just, a lot of times kind of came timed weird. So I just kind of put them where I thought sounded nice. And that's what inspired this melody for the second drop. So originally, and that's being complemented later by another lead I have there. Now, onto my pianos. So it was pretty much just keyscape. Shout out to Trevor, or Said This Guy, for recommending this to me. And And so that's pretty much what I got going on for that. The chords aren't from the original track. I pretty much just did them all around the vocal. That's what I like to do normally when I do a remix, is build the whole track around the vocal. And so that's pretty much playing the same top 2 notes, but just did a progression I thought would fit well. And one of my favorite pianos, I call this the Porter Robinson language piano. It's pretty much just grandeur. It's got the hard color. It's more percussive with the open lids, which makes it sound brighter. Then pretty much after that, just got echo, Valhalla room, brick wall, compressor, then EQ, and then some sidechain and utility stuff. Then I'm using it later in the drop. And this was kind of inspired by David Guetta track he had on his albums, like Nothing But the Beat, I believe. It's like back in 2012 or 13, something like that. Just One Last Time, I think, was the name of the track. And so he had just like something similar to this. It was just piano as like the lead in the drop. And I really liked that. So I said, why not try and add it here? And then the same thing goes on for the second drop here. Same melody pretty much. It's the same instrument, but different melody. And here it's kind of the same thing, just it's the same instrument, but it's got less echo and it's just a bit quieter as well. And then that's pretty much the same there. So as for the chords, I've got these absinthe chords here, which are pretty much just a sine wave. I think they're playing the same chord progression, but I added a lot more notes to it to add, I wouldn't say more texture, but I guess more harmonic texture, if you would. This, I can't remember what it came from. I think it has something to do with Portal. And maybe a Rhodes. Or actually, I think it was the sine chord going through Portal or something. I can't remember. And so I kind of had that thing I'm using right before the drop. Then here I've got this awesome pad. I've been kind of digging these a lot recently. The Chime Aurora pads. It's from their pack. It's over on Splice. I'll put a link to it down in the description. But it has like this nice fullness to it. And it's kind of similar to the kind of samples I have on my Tonal Ambiences pack, which you can also grab either in the description or up here in this little annotation box. But it's pretty much adding some nice, what I call bedding to the background, right? So it fills up the space, but it doesn't make it sound busy, which I really like. And then that's pretty much being used later in the chord stack right here. So here we are in the chord stack. And so the stack is made up of these. So this is the same thing, just one's left, one's right. Just to make it sound wider. And it's the same pad from earlier, but I have it chopped up because it progresses melodically throughout the sample. And so I kind of did what people would do with vocal chops. I did it with chops, with pads, right? So it's like pad chops. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going on there. I believe it's the same for... Yeah, it's the same for this over here. Then here, I added this nice little vocal blur. That's just for the second drop. Then I have my snare lead. Originally, it was this tonal snare by Umru. I just reverbed it out, put it in the sampler, added free clip, because, I got to. And then Valhalla room, and then just an EQ. Just kind of clean it up, leave some space for everything else, because I've got white noise that, you know, comes in later, and I've got a lot of stuff that's covering the mids and a low mid, so I don't need that stuff. I just need specifically where the melody is being played. In terms of the white noise, it's literally just white noise with an EQ, pan left and right. So really not much going on, just like a couple EQs, that's it. Then the same piano from earlier, just a bit louder, slightly processed differently as well. The only chords I'm using in this drop, this saw stack, is, let's see, saw rounded and then a regular saw with no other effects on it. So it's just like normal saw. That's all it is. And it's kind of, I'm using it to glue everything else together. And so just an EQ over here, some sound delay to make it a tiny bit wider. And then utility again for what I call utility work, which is any kind of volume automation. I just do it all with utility, so it doesn't affect my mixer. Now here I have my guitar verb, which is just something I recorded on guitar, I think, and it's just, I reverbed it out as a cool harmonic thing. I don't remember what it was, but I just pushed it through free clip and then EQ 8 and then Pro Q. And I think this is just removing some of those harmonic, like these bad frequencies. Cleaning it up a tiny bit more. Adds a really nice layer to the stack. And then my lead, which is the 4-reel lead. Like normally I would do this in Harmor, but Harmor is not supported in Ableton on Mac. So image line, if you fix it, that would be really appreciated. But like any other artist would, I did a workaround, which is I just went into Serum, put in a square wave. Normally I would have this pitch automation, so it's going down by an octave or 2 octaves real quick, so it sounds percussive. But in this case, I'm not. And then I'm just putting it through Guitar Rig. So in this case, I'm using Citrus. And then Echo for the delay, Pro Q, which is just for the phone EQ, which you can do with any other EQ, really. Overdrive only in the low frequencies. And you can pull this off in any other DAW if you don't have an overdrive like this, where you just do parallel processing. And then in the line where you're distorting it, just kind of EQ it, so it's specifically that area there. Then Valhalla Room just for reverb, then EQ, and then just a whole bunch of utility work for later on throughout the track. And then I do have a slide going on here, which is just being automated from Serum, so there's nothing really much to that. And a Celesta. It's literally a Celesta in Keyscape. And so, you know, just free clip. And because I can't slide these, I'm just kind of bringing it up to the pitch where I think it would be good. So like this melody, just like right here, because I can't have it slide, I just had it go straight to that resolve, because or else it just sounded really awkward. And that pretty much does it for the stacks itself. Okay, so here we are with the basses. So what I got, I pretty much just have 3 main basses, really 2. This is my drone bass, which is pretty much just a saw wave with low pass filters, 2 low pass filters, some distortion, and then a compressor as well. And so I'm using that to add some weight to my breaks. A lot of times I kind of just see newer producers they're not having like basses where they should. So sometimes in their breaks, with or without drums, because you also, in my opinion, you should be doing it in sections without drums as well, but not super in your face if it needs it. But a lot of times people don't know and they'll not add it, and it just sounds sometimes way better because it sounds more full and doesn't sound like really thin. And so I'm adding it here for my break. Then this is the same thing here. I think, what's the difference? This one has kick tight and this one doesn't really. That's all the difference is. And it's also, this one has sidechain on, this one doesn't. And then as for the drop basses, it's just a sub. with a mid bass. So the sub is just a regular sine wave with kick tight, EQ removing where the kick hits, and then 2 side chains, the ghost and the snare ghost. Normally, I wouldn't sidechain my snare to my sub because under normal circumstances, they're not sharing similar frequencies. So it in like a club setting, or if you're listening to it on a subwoofer, it sounds really weird because it sounds like the sub is ducking for nothing, and it's kind of odd unless you're doing it for rhythmic reasons. So for example, my track 4047, it's, in that case, I'm using it for rhythmic purposes. In this case, I'm sidechaining it to the snare because it shares a lot of those mid to lower frequencies. And it just sounds cleaner when I sidechain it that way. Normally I wouldn't, because if you're using like a trap snare, it's more higher pitched. They're not going to share any frequencies. And so if you're listening to it in a club setting, you're like, wow, the bass just left for no reason. When normally you have a kick and it kind of just, balances it out. So that's for the sub. And then this for the mid bass, it's pretty much just a saw with some distortion, I believe, and compression. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And EQ to clean it up. Because I have stuff in the high end, so I don't need that high end from that mid bass. And I got stuff for the low end, so I don't need the low end from that mid bass. Then I'm making it a lot more mono, less wide, more narrow with utility. And then I've got, this mostly for the chops going on here. And then I just got like a couple extra basses here. Like there's an 808 fill. Yeah, it's just like. So that's really it when it comes to the basses. Not too much going on there. All right, next up we got our synths. I only have one thing in the synth layer, and it's this. And in retrospect, I should have had it in the stack group, but I didn't, and it still sounds good, so I just left it. So all it is, it's literally just the that Fourier lead, the same thing, literally the same thing, just without free clip and the overdrive, pretty much. Yeah, I don't think I'm using free clip, but the overdrive, I'm not using it on here, so it's a cleaner sound. It's not super noticeable, but it adds a bit to that drop section. As far as drums go, this is what I have for the break. And then, later on. I think I'm going to play it from here because this is where I have all the elements together. So this is my Ghost. So this originally, what it really is, it starts off as an 808 hi-hat that triggers everything, but you don't hear it because you don't hear that in the track. So I have it muted right here, and that's what's triggering everything else. The reason why I do it this way, instead of having a kick be the trigger for the sidechain, is so what I can have, in my opinion, more consistent sidechains if the kick is slightly different, as well as more control over my sidechains. So if I want to have a quicker release on the, let's say for the sidechain on the chords, and the kick is a bit longer, I can do that with a really short 808 like this, or 808 hi-hat like this. I can't with a longer kick because it won't work just because it's so long. So that's why I'm doing it with that. And it's the same thing for the snare as well. As far as the break kick goes, it's same thing. Chime Ace Aura Pack, Chime kick 2017. Really nice kick, nice and full. Just pretty much boosting a bit of the low end and smoothing out that high end a bit as well. Yeah. And then as for I'll keep going down and then we'll just go to the next section. As for the snares, this is my favorite part. So right about here. So these are the break claps. So this is just a rim shot from J-Views. Really good packs. He has a lot of really good packs on Splice. Just removing that low end, adding a bit high end, and then a tiny bit of reverb to add a bit of room to that. And this is part of what I call the gunshot clap. The reason why I call it a gunshot clap is just because it's going through a delay and it's also being filtered. So it's like the same thing would happen if let's say you're outside, someone shoots a gun far away from you. You just kind of hear like, so kind of have that going on here. Kind of reminds me of Call of Duty, like the old kind. I don't know, but it's what it is for me. Then another clap. This one's more of a snare kind of trap kind of snare, but same thing, echo and a bit of filter. And that's just another clap there. Same thing, but this time with sound delay. To add a bit more width to the claps, and then reverb. And then I have this reverse clap here that helps lead into these next sections, which is really nice. Percussions. So here we go. So there are like 3 parts of this percussion. So I have this little thing from BBL perk. I think, yeah, they all have echo on the group. So that's what one is. And then the other one is just this Foley percussion. And then that's just another Foley. And so without the echo, it sounds like this. So the echo adds a lot rhythmically to it because it's also going on 3/16, I believe, for the echo. So if I play with the metronome, add some nice syncopation to the break drums. Then I have the Kashmir Red, kind of playing on every other 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, kind of like almost every other. It's kind of slightly adjusted, so it's right before. And then more percussion stuff. So this is just a drum and bass loop that I slowed down. I think it's using, repitch. So if you slow it down, it goes down in pitch as well. And it's just a shaker with a tambourine from Oliver. And then I got these awesome fills. I'm really proud of how it kind of turned out overall. So it's just 2 samples from the AESW Gray pack. So this is one of them. And this is the other. So if I play all these drums together, it just sounds, it adds a lot of this nice, like good transition elements. I feel like it helps make the whole section smoother. And it's small things like that really take your track to the next level. Just pretty much like ear candy, pretty much. You can have it be melodic. You can have it be rhythmic like this. It really adds a lot to your tracks. So now for the drop drums. In terms of the drop drums, there's not much to it. So I'm using 2 kicks. One of them is like the high mid section. That's just a Chime standard kick with an EQ. Because again, I'm just using it for the mid highs. And then shout out to Aaron Roman for this, or APR Studios. This he sent me this low end kick. It's a lot more solidified compared to the last kick I had. So this is pretty much the lower end of the kick. That's what's being used there. In terms of my snares, really nice and thick. So I'm using this snare Kosh, again by Chime. Most of this track wouldn't have been done, I think, without the help of Chime and Asora, so shout out to them. But yeah, so free clip on that snare. Barely noticeable, there's not too much. You can see the dynamic change difference. It kind of compresses that transient a bit more. Then Pro Q to help boost that fundamental a bit, and a bit more of the high end, and a filter for later on in the track that's being automated. Then metallic snare I use in almost every one of my tracks. Again, free clip to help with that transient, bit of reverb, EQ to help boost that fundamental there, and then just filter. A lot of these are kind of just processed the same, with the exception of this, because this one's just glass. Now you will notice there's a delay between the left and right because I'm using sound delay. But you can't hear it in the track, but it helps make it wider. And so yeah, free clip again. Pro Q, I'm mostly just removing the low end at this point because I already have the rest of the snares for that low end. And then sound delay to make it wider and a bit of reverb. Now, the reason why I'm playing this on like the last snare instead of all the snares is so that way it adds a bit more variety to to the overall drum section. So if I'm just kind of playing it from here. Adds some good variety in that sense. So it doesn't sound super stale. But it's just a crash. That's really it. The orbit crash from Dragon. Again, this is all in splice. Sound delay to make it lighter. And it's sidechained slightly to the kick. And that's really it in terms of the drums, I believe. Oh yeah, later on I have this hi-hat for the break. I'm not doing any pitching to the hi-hat, but I felt like I didn't need it, so I kind of just went with it. And then I do have like the drum and bass loop come back for this. For that section, for the build. Which I also have a couple extra things for the build now that I'm remembering here. So it's, I mean, apart from these, the drums and the snares, I have something that's being shared down here. So it's the shaker, but I also have these epic drums. I don't remember where they're from. But I'm still using that here. And then I have this right before the drop as well. Yeah. So I think it's just playing some snare hit, I think. So it's a crash, then a kick. Yeah. Yeah, so when it comes to the drums, it's just... Because I'm also playing some stuff here in the... Yeah. In terms of the guitars, there's not too much going on. I do have this little section here, which I think is from the original. And then all I did was just, I think this is the processing. Yeah, so it's just guitar rig to make it, because it originally was an acoustic guitar. And then Transient Master to make it more punchy. And then later I have this guitar, which is from the original, but I chopped it up just so it fit with my chord progression. So yeah, that's pretty much what it's doing for that. So that way it plays well with the chord progression. As far as effects go, I don't think there's too much. I have some break foley. Mostly from Cohen Sounds. So this one's mixed grains. And then this one's water. So all I'm doing is just have an EQ on it to remove that low end, clean it up a bit. Some sidechain to it as well. As far as that, as the rest goes, that's pretty much it. I don't know what this is. Oh, it's just like a really short little riser. I think it might be in here by accident, quite honestly. Yeah, I think I might have put this here by accident, but stuff happens. Now over here I got these rides. You know, just kind of helping with some transition sections. And then these samples from Twig. And that's really all there is to this project. So all together, you got these. Alright guys, thank you guys so much for watching that video. If you guys want me to make more videos kind of similar to this, whether it be me going through a particular project or just overall music tutorials, let me know. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy it. Keep streaming the remix if you guys really dig it. And keep an eye out for Dying Youth. It comes out September 17th. So, see you guys later. Peace.